Hey guys, Jamie here from My Starless Sky, bringing you episode 10 of the My Starless Sky podcast. I just want to apologize for my hair being a little messed up and being a little bit shiny because I just went for a jog, and if you watch the About Me video of the podcast, you'll know that I am a martial artist, so gotta keep in shape, keep those muscles up. So anyway, today's topic is going to be Percy Jackson. I know that that's kind of a niche subject that not a lot of YouTubers have covered, but I figured I would just, give it the old college try and see what happens. So, I just got a new book in the series. I'm actually a little bit behind. There's been a couple more that have come out since then, but this is the newest one that I've seen, and so I'm just going to show it to you real quick. It's The Trials of Apollo. Obviously, as all other Percy Jackson books, it's by Rick Riordan, who is one of my, actually he might be my favorite author. He's very, very funny with his humor and pop culture references, even though it's kind of like a young adult thing. Even as a grown man, I still find a lot of it really funny. So alright, let's just jump right into it. So The Trials of Apollo is, I'm going to give you a little bit of a preface first, because let me just show you my collection. Now, I'm going to start with the side books. We got Percy Jackson's Greek Gods right here, and then we got the companion book, Percy Jackson's Greek Heroes, which those are basically the canon myths within the universe that are like the real life counterparts. So basically, these books decide which myths, because there's a lot of conflicting myths in all mythologies, so these ones basically solidify which myths apply and which don't. So those ones are very important. Now, I also I don't have it here today for you, but I also have obviously the first 5 Percy Jackson books. Percy Jackson and the Olympians is the series, and then I've got the Lightning Thief, Sea of Monsters, Titan's Curse, Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian. That was the last one. I don't have those here for you today, but so the second series I have, I think chronologically these guys came out first. So this right here, these 3, I'm just going to show you all 3 at once, is the Kane Chronicles, which is obviously the Red Pyramid, the Throne of Fire, and the Serpent's Shadow. Now, those cover the Egyptian mythology, and there is a little bit of references to the main Percy Jackson series that shows that they are canon and happen in the same universe, only those are in Brooklyn, and most of Percy Jackson happens in Manhattan or Long Island. So, the third series that happened is the Heroes of Olympus series, which I do have for you here right now. And it's 5 books, so I'm going to just show them to you one at a time. We've got the Lost Hero, which is the first one, which starts with the Greek. A couple Roman demigods go to the Greek camp, and this is introducing the idea that there are other mythologies that are, take part in the universe. Now, the second book is Son of Neptune, which is basically the opposite, where the Greek demigods go to the Roman camp. So now we've, at this point in the series, we've seen both the Greek and Roman camps from the opposite perspective. Now, the Mark of Athena, this is the one where the 2 camps come together and start going on a mission. After that is the House of Hades. Now, this is most likely the best book in the entire series. Because, spoiler alert, Percy and Annabeth fall into Tartarus and have to spend the whole book getting their way out. It is amazing. Amazing. Best book in the series. And obviously the final one is Blood of Olympus, and that one is, pretty good. It's a good conclusion. And so that was basically up until the other day as far as I've read. But just the other day, I picked up 2 new books. I got Magnus Chasing the Gods of Asgard, book 1, which has Annabeth in it. So obviously the Norse gods are canon to the Greek, Roman, and obviously Egyptian gods. And I also picked up the book that we're going to talk about today, Trials of Apollo. Now, this one, let me just explain the story for you real quick before we get into this. So, in the Kane Chronicles, there is a crossover where Percy and Annabeth meet up with Sadie and Carter Kane from the Kane Chronicles, and they do like an Alexandrian mission because Alexandria is equally Greek and Egyptian. So at this point in the story, Greek, Roman, Egyptian, and as of Magnus Chase, because Annabeth Chase, Magnus Chase is her cousin, so that's Greek, Roman, Egyptian, and Norse are all in the same continuity and the same canon, all in the same universe with different parts. Like I said, Greeks is Manhattan, Egyptians is Brooklyn, and the Greeks is also Long Island. Camp Jupiter, which is the Roman camp, that's in the West Coast, which is, I think, Los Angeles or maybe San Francisco. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I read them. And then the Magnus Chase, that one takes place in Boston. And we'll get to Trials of Apollo in a second. So at the end of Blood of Olympus, which is the final Heroes of Olympus series, where the Greek and Roman camps come together, at the end, basically, the big bad makes one of the small bads do its bidding, and one of the small bads happens to be Apollo's son. Now, obviously, if you have any sort of brain, you can see where this is going. At the end, when they beat the big bad, Zeus, being a pretty irrational dude, he doesn't really think clearly a lot of times, he kind of scapegoats Apollo and says, this is your fault. Your son made all this happen, so you need to be punished. And that is the premise for Trials of Apollo. Basically, Apollo is cast from Olympus as a mortal. He's no longer a god. And he's got acne. He's like, his name is Lester Papadopoulos, the most awkward name you've ever heard. Just overall, he's in a real shitty situation. No pun intended. If you've read the book, you'll get that. So, and this is actually the first book where a child of Demeter is focused heavily on, because the other books have explored all the children of the gods, like the different pantheons. Like we've seen Zeus, Hephaestus, Ares, like all the different gods have gotten a spotlight, and it's good to finally see Demeter getting their time to shine. Even though Demeter is like farms and crops and stuff. But she's got some pretty cool powers. Her name's Meg, and she's 12, so she's got some pretty good powers. And the bad of this book is Emperor Nero, which is a good Roman bad guy that has not been addressed yet in the canon. So I do like how how they played that. So basically, long story short, Apollo has to go through some trials to get his godhood back. And the book is called The Hidden Oracle. That's like the subtitle, because now that Apollo's not a god, the oracle doesn't work anymore because he's the god of prophecy. He's also the god of many other things. He's the most popular god. That's why being a mortal is so hard for him. He's usually the most attractive. He's good at archery, good at music, poetry, medicine. He's like the god. He's the god of all things. He's got so many different aspects. It's crazy. And so being a mortal is very hard for him. Now, onto my theory. There's a couple different little things that I'm noticing. Now, obviously, at this point in the series, like, we've been introduced to 4 different pantheons of gods: Greek, Roman, Egyptian, Norse, and that already is a lot, and they're different areas. So now, obviously, in Heroes of Olympus, Greek and Roman got together, and my theory is that we are going to get an Avengers-style team-up between a couple demigods from each pantheon. Greek, Roman, Norse, Egyptian, blah, blah, blah. And he might even introduce a couple more before the Avengers-style team-up. Because if you notice in these books, there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of pop culture references, specifically superheroes and Avengers and stuff. Like, a lot of people make Aquaman jokes at Percy, and at one point in Trials of Apollo, they even Percy says there's a grain spirit right under the child of Demeter, and when she summons him, he's a peach spirit. So all he says is peaches, peaches, peaches. And Percy makes the reference, why is he Grooting? And Apollo goes, what? Grooting? And he says, yeah, from that movie, you know? I am Groot. So clearly Rick Riordan, the author, knows about Guardians of the Galaxy and the whole Avengers universe, and there's other, references aside from that. But this is really starting to tell me that we're looking at a team up here, because it's also referenced later that Annabeth Chase, Percy's girlfriend, is in Boston dealing with some family stuff. And if you've read Magnus Chase, which takes place in Boston, you know that Magnus is Annabeth's cousin, and that's what she's dealing with. So while Annabeth is dealing with Norse stuff, Percy is dealing with Camp Half-Blood stuff, with Apollo being, Apollo dealing with his trials. And a big factor in the book is that there's been no contact from Camp Jupiter, which is the Roman camp. And Kane Chronicles kind of takes place in its own little, mini universe, even though it has definitely canonly crossed over. But it's just, it's kind of they haven't really mentioned it yet, but the Norse, the Greek, and the Roman are definitely all involved in the Trials of Apollo story, like, referenced. So I really think that we're getting a Avengers-style team-up. Now, that's my main, kind of theory. And I think that Apollo is going to play a big role in that, because if you know anything about Christianity, Apollo has a big deal in that too. And I think there's a link between Hermes and the Egyptian. I think Hermes and Thoth, the Egyptian god of knowledge, get confused a lot, so a lot of people think they're the same. So, and there was also a reference to Aztec in Trials of Apollo. There was reference because Apollo felt like he wasn't doing his part because he's not driving his sun chariot, but then he says, oh, well, Ra will still drive his chariot, his sun bark across the sky, and the Aztec god is running on all the human sacrifices from thousands of years ago, so he will still make the sun go by. And also science. So, I definitely think that we're going to get at least one more pantheon, hopefully Christianity. I'd really like to see a second coming of Jesus, or maybe Judaism. That might be a little better. But a second coming of Jesus, or some type of monotheistic religion would definitely be cool for this pantheon. He could be kind of the main character, where all the other demigods are supporting characters. As much as I love Percy, Percy's definitely my favorite character. I also love Nico D'Angelo. But so I just wanted to talk about the potential of a team up. And Rick Riordan, if you see this, keep up the good work. I love your books. I love the series. And yeah, I think that's where I'm going to end it for today. I'm going to pick up the new books as soon as I can. And, yeah. So, I think I'm going to cut the video here for now. But, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, smash that bell, all that stuff, And, tell me what you think down in the comments. If we're going to get a team up, which Percy Jackson book you like the best, which pantheon you like the best, which myth you like the best, keep the conversation going. So that's it for today. I'll see you in a couple days. MSS out.